It's Wednesday. It's the 3rd of July, 2019, and it's From the Crow's Nest. And today we're talking about a summary of the Isle of Wight witches, or witchcraft, witches, and bit of witchcraft. I've been doing some extensive research here, so if you see me looking over, I actually did a little bit of background work. I didn't script this, so this is still off the cuff. But I have a few little facts here and a few little bits and pieces that I thought I would like to share with you. So I've got a couple of little stories, some stuff that we don't really have a huge amount of facts for at the moment. I'm still digging, but I think it'll be quite interesting to just run through these and hear what you have to say. So the first bit is I'm just going to talk about some witchy type stories that don't have a great deal of detail, but certainly worth looking into. Excuse me. So the first story is about an old woman who lived on Hale Common. She had the reputation of being a healer and a witch, and it seems that healers and witches seem to go hand in hand in these conversations, or these stories. Anyway, she was a healer and a witch, but she also was reputed to have the special ability to turn herself into a hare. And she did this, and she was seen to transform and running across the common. And the squire of the time decided to pursue her with his harriers to catch her, and who knows what to do with. Anyway, so they ran, and they ran, and they ran, and they were basically unable to catch this hare, and they decided to get her into a corner, and so they basically shepherded her into a corner where she was between three walls, and there was a door at the back of the wall that went into a garden, and she was only able to escape by disappearing through a keyhole. So she transformed herself, or shrunk herself, and she transformed, and she went through the keyhole and was never heard from again. And the people of Hale Common were more the sad. That's not really the right term, is it? Were much sadder for her leaving. So there's that story. Then there's the story of God's Hill and the God's Hill witches, and it's said that God's Hill had more witches per capita than anywhere else in England, and it was seen as a safe haven. In fact, there's even a house there called the Batwings, and it's said that one of the witches lived there. It is said that before the more modern buildings were built, many houses had witch markings on them, and a few of them even had witches' seats built into their walls. So I'm going to go and have a look around there and see if I can find anything one day. So I always found that really fascinating. And now on to some reports of actual witches. So in 1528, there were accusations of witchcraft, and 2 residents of Newport were accused, but nothing came of it. As far as we can tell, there doesn't seem to be any records of any convictions. Then in 1580, this is where where I'm not sure whether there could be two stories that have been merged into one. But anyway, there's the story of Agnes Collins. Now, Agnes Collins, in 1580, she was a spinster who was held in jail in Winchester Castle because she was accused of witchcraft on Joan Amos, aged 10 days, the daughter of Roger Amos of Arreton, and Elizabeth or Eliza. And the child languished until the 17th of February following that and died. Agnes was kept in Winchester Castle until 1582. Now, this is where things get a little bit confused. They say that she was actually from Ashy, and she was burnt to death in Newchurch. So that's one story, and thank you to Roger Clark for that. There is another story, but this story is about an Agnes Porter, and she was said to have been burnt to death in Ashy, but she came from Ryde. There's no dates around that. Only insofar as there's the similarity of the name. Now, they do say that it was late in the reign of Elizabeth when many Puritans had come to the island to sanctify and remove all vestiges of Catholicism. It wasn't long after this incident that it said that the Puritans were forced off the islands because the islanders did not want the Puritans and the Anglicization of the church and the removal of their ancient traditions. So there is that. And then we have a report of a place called Strathwell Dale in Whitwell, where I'm not sure the dates, I think, in the early 2000s or mid 2000s, a couple had bought this place and they decided to renovate it. And as they were renovating it, they found a bunch of dark red hair tied with ribbons in the rafters. Now, there are a couple of conflicting stories about what this might be. Some people say that it could be some sort of protection spell to protect against a person who, or a witch, an evil witch with red hair who may have been trying to curse the people that owned the house. Now, incidentally, the house was. There is a stone there saying that the original house was built in 1638, which is around about the time that the Puritans were sort of pushed off the island. Also said that it could be a protection against someone who died who had red hair and was haunting the building, or it could have been a love charm where a young lady who's in love with someone who lived in that house put the charm there so that he would fall in love with her. So I think that's really fascinating. I want to find out more about that. I'm going to try and get in contact with the people who renovated the house if they're still there. And then lastly, we have Molly Downer, who I've spoken about before, and it's a tragic story. Anyway, she was reputed as being a witch, and she lived in a place called Hillway. She lived in Hillway in a cottage called the Witch's Cottage. When she died, the house had been in the Downer family, since 1558 apparently. When she died in 1835, she left it to the vicar of Brading, who ordered the cottage and its contents to be burnt to the ground. No one was to go in. No one was to look around. It was burnt to the ground. So there we have it. A short little list of some witchy stuff. A little bit of spells going on. And I tried to keep this quite precise rather than sort of folkloric stuff. I'm just basing this on reports. There is a ton of other of witchy stuff to talk about. There's all the witches' marks and things around the island. There is some amazing stuff to really talk about. Also, the wand that was found, which one day I'm going to go into more detail about. So there's lots more to talk about. But I thought a nice little roundup. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm now off to. I've got a meeting with some people about an exciting project coming up, so which I hopefully will be able to talk about very soon. And that's it for me, and I'll see you tomorrow for Folklore Thursday. Bye bye.